You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me down in the very dirt, but still like the dust I'll rise. Does my happiness upset you? Why are you best with gloom? 'Cause I laugh like I've got an oil well pumping up in my living room. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, 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 out of the shacks of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, rise, rise. Now did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops weakened by my soul for Christ? Does my confidence upset you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got a diamond mine breaking up in my front yard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, 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 out of the shacks of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, rise, rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me down in the very dirt, still like the dust I'll rise. Does my happiness upset you? Why are you best with gloom? 'Cause I laugh like I've got a gold mine digging up in my living room. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, 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 out of the shacks of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, 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 I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise, rise, rise.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Taos United Community Church. We are so happy that you're here. Some of you have come just to see Mirabai, I know, and we're so glad. Please know that you are welcome here, no matter what you believe, what you used to believe, what you're never going to believe again. This house of prayer belongs to you, so please feel welcome here. And our communion table is open to everyone. And afterwards, we always have goodies and coffee and tea next door in the fellowship hall. So please join us. I hope you give us a chance to get to know you a little bit, if this is your first time. So today, we do have a couple of announcements. The first one I want to make is, as the chairperson for the Search and Call Committee, I try to keep you updated on how we're doing. And I just want you to know that in the wintertime, the numbers of profiles and applications for pastor have slowed down a bit, but we did interview with somebody just last week, and it seems that person is not going to pursue us, which is sometimes what happens. And I ask you for your prayers. You know, we want a new pastor in this church, and we want the right person to lead us. And I really believe that God's got this, and it's just we need to be patient and keep going. So that's what we're doing. And Jerry, I heard you have an announcement, yes?
So a letter came from Sentinel Bank this week. Big deal. It's a letter from the bank. But it goes like this. This letter is to inform you that we've made a final determination regarding your electronic funds transfer claim dated 3/6/24 and 2/28/24. Based on the facts of our investigation, an error did occur and your account was credited to transactions in the amount of $2,500 and $2,000. And there was another $2,000 that somebody tried to take out of it that, would Deborah stand up, please? A huge round of applause, because let me tell you how this went. She went in and said, well, you have to catch us within 24 hours, and it was a little more than that, if you want your money back. Deborah researched. She got on the ACH site and on the holding company site for the bank and read this and read that and read another thing and went back in, and it's all back in place. And that account is closed, and we have another one, and we've separated into two accounts so that at least it's not all totally at risk, but thank you. And it's, yeah. Yeah, well, it was kind of the whole council. It was, you know, doing its thing.
Scott stopped it. So thank you, Scott, too, who's not here yet, who's not here today. Thank you. So we're ready to begin. Are there any other announcements? All right, we're ready to start. I'm going to ask that you take a comfortable seat and close your eyes if you'd like to do that, and concentrate on your breath. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. Breathe in the grace that is all around us. Breathe out gratitude for that grace. God of many names, we come here today because we love you, because we need you, because we feel your presence in a special way when we come together on Sunday morning. So, with that in mind, the next thing we're going to do is come up one at a time and light candles. We're going to take a candle, thinking about something that we are concerned with, something that we feel joyful about or scared about or something else about. We're going to place it in the sand bowl, and while we come up and do that, we're going to sing a song. There's a few of us that are going to do the song up here together, and if you know the chorus, please sing along with the chorus. And the song is called My Soul is Filled with Joy. So please begin.
Maybe I should stand.
Thank you.
Hit anyone.
My soul is filled with joy as I sing to God, my Savior. You have looked upon your servant. You have visited your people, and holy is your name through all generations. Everlasting is your mercy to the people you have chosen, and holy is your name. I am lonely as a child,
servants, though you scatter the proud-hearted and destroy the might of princes, and holy is your name through all generations. Everlasting is your mercy to the people you have chosen, and holy is your name.
To the hungry you give food, and the rich you send the rich away empty. In your mercy you are mindful of the people you have chosen.
And holy is your name through all generations. Everlasting is your mercy to the people you have chosen, and holy is your name. In your love you now fulfill what you promised to your people. I will praise you, Lord, my Savior. Everlasting is your mercy, and holy is your name through all generations. Everlasting is your mercy to the people you have chosen, and holy is your name.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see everybody. The reading this morning is from Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 31, 33 to 34. The days are surely coming, says the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. No longer shall they teach one another or say to each other, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, says the Lord, for I will forgive their iniquity and remember their sin no more.
I am just going to put the spotlight on Mirabai so we can all see her better. Thank you.
Yeah, until yep. Story of my life. Hello, everyone. I'm really honored to be invited to be here. I told Eileen that I don't often get invited to do things in Taos. It's weird. I don't know why. I'd really love to be part of my community, especially the parts of the community that are doing good work in the community. And when Pam Shepard first came back to Taos and wanted to do this, found this gathering place, she took me to lunch and she said, I'd love to have you involved. And I said, great, I mean, the mission sounds right up my alley. I'd love to do it. Just keep me informed. And when the time comes, I'd love to find a way. And then now she's gone. It's like, what happened? Where did she go? Where did the time go? I guess I just want to say that time is so precious, and our community, beloved community, is precious. And so there's no time to waste, and the world is burning, you may have noticed. And I feel very strongly that we are the ones we've been waiting for, as they say in the Hopi prophecy, and waiting around for somebody to figure it out and fix it is probably not only unhelpful, but the whole paradigm needs to be deconstructed. And so I guess my message today is about the way of holiness is rooted in our everyday lives. I know you already know this, but we need little bells to remind us. So let this be a little bell today to remind you of what you already know, which is that your birthright is to be connected to the divine and to act from that place of connectedness. So I'm calling this talk Ordinary Mysticism, Your Life as Sacred Ground, which happens to be, what a coinky dink, the title of my new forthcoming book. And over the years, as a translator of the mystics, particularly the Christian mystics, but I have a deep connection with the mystical heart of all the world's spiritual traditions. I have, at the same time that I've been kind of lifting these mystical teachings and teachers and sharing them, I've also privately been busting them and breaking down the very structures of belief that many of those mystics were rooted in. You know, the sort of, if I may use the word, patriarchal constructs that are unhelpful and in fact dangerous, such as transcending our humanity, our bodies, our emotions, our feelings, our relationships. You know, a lot of those juicy embodied realities that I feel, and I suspect you might too, are sacred, are considered by the religious authorities to be dangerous. You know, like that, you can't trust a woman to be in leadership because she might get her period and become moody. I mean, remember those messages? So how do we reclaim the holiness of our embodied experience? So when I talk about mysticism, what am I speaking about? It's nothing misty or mysterious or otherworldly. It's entirely about cultivating direct experience with the sacred. Now we can do that in the church, we can do that in the temple, in the mosque, we can also do it in the aspen grove, and we can do it on the deathbed and on the birthing bed and the marriage bed. That all of the aspects of our ordinary lives, which are so often extraordinary, like death and birth. I mean, it happens to everyone, but it's incredible. It's so extraordinary, right? These are the places we can reclaim the holiness of life, but also our own capacity for direct experience of the sacred. So nobody has heard me read from my new manuscript yet, except for my 16-year-old granddaughter the other day and her 16-year-old friend, who were poking each other the whole time I was reading, but then eventually they stopped poking each other, and next thing I knew, they were really listening. So I'm going to read you just a short passage. Tell me the time I have. It's 10:25. I have until when?
20 up.
Thank you. So just a little definition of a mystic, which is, please root this in your consciousness as I read it, is you. Okay. A mystic knows beyond ideas, feels deeper than emotions, is fundamentally changed by that which is unchanging. Mysticism is a way of seeing beyond the turmoil, the rights and wrongs, good guys and villains, to the radiant heart of things. The mystical gaze reveals the miracle in the summer thunderstorm and the bowl of ramen. It glimpses the face of the holy in the withered peonies and blesses the sound of the siren in the middle of the night. It quickens the heart with yearning and also soothes the soul with the felt presence of the sublime. A mystic gazes through the eyes of love, and love reveals itself as the only true thing. For most of us, this way of seeing doesn't happen all the time, but I think for all of us, it happens some of the time. And the trick is to recognize those mystical moments when we are connected, when for a moment we drop the illusion of separation and intuitively recognize that we belong to each other, to the world, that this fleeting incarnation, you may have noticed, it's just like gone so quickly, is an opportunity to wake up and to remember. So I want you to be able, as I want for myself, to reclaim your birthright as a mystic. Maybe you don't get to call yourself one. Like, it always annoys me when people put on their, Instagram profile, I am a mystic, bullshit. You are a human being. And anyone who calls himself anything special, I'm immediately suspicious. But we are mystics, if to be a mystic means to claim direct experience of the sacred. What do I want to say? So if it's a way of seeing, what is it that we're seeing? Love. I mean, my friend Richard Rohr, I was just thinking I should ask those folks if they have any suggestions for a possible pastor. Let's talk, okay? Yes. Richard Rohr says that to be a mystic is to simply look through the eyes of love and perceive love. That's it. It's so simple and so hard to pull off. There are so many reasons not to love, and they're fed to us every single day. Right now, when so many of us are grieving for the suffering in the world, on top of whatever losses personally we may be carrying, which in my opinion simply break us open so that our capacity to carry the pain of the world becomes greater. I don't know, that's not a design I would have come up with myself, but it seems to be that when our hearts break, they break big enough to feel the pain of the world. In this time of incredible suffering in the world, particularly in Palestine, it's really hard to not otherize. And we see it all over our social media and in our conversations and in our families. There are the good guys and the bad guys and the right and the wrong and the history, and you don't know, and you're wrong, and it's brutal. And yet it is an invitation continuously to come back to our birthright of love, of mystical connection and belonging. I feel, so to look through the eyes of love is to perceive wonder. What Abraham Joshua Heschel, the great 20th century Jewish philosopher, activist, peace activist, called radical amazement. To be a mystic is to be in a state of radical amazement. Not all the time. Who could stay in a heightened state like that? We're not meant to. It's like being sexually turned on all the time. That would be really boring and impossible. It's a loving space that washes over us. Many times throughout the day, you are a mystic, you in the sense that you have those experiences all the time, don't you? Those moments of wonder where you kind of forget that you're a separate ego self, and you experience your felt belonging. So those moments of awe come, and when they do, it quiets that monkey mind that is judging everything all the time, or what do they call it in neuroscience, the default mode network, DMN, which is always judging and evaluating, particularly ourselves. It calms down. The movie of me, as my friend Krishnadas calls it, temporarily, in which we endlessly star, by the way, and write a flow of critical reviews every minute. The movie of me goes dark, and we remember, we connect, we reconnect. What I want to say is that the mystical connection resides in beloved community more than any other place. So right here is a really good start. And yet, churchiness can be an obstacle, you may have noticed, to true mystical experience. You know, the religiosity, the belief systems, the constructs that we're supposed to hang our spirituality on. You said it in the beginning, Eileen, what you used to believe and can never believe again. We are deconstructing the paradigms that have done harm. And together as community, because we can't do it alone, we are remembering what matters and we're teaching each other. I want to read you one more little passage, if I may. I immediately forgot what you said. 10:35, I think you said. 10:40. 10:40, good. So when we talk about God, some of us get the heebie-jeebies a little bit. Yeah, we prickle. Because the G word is so loaded, and maybe your upbringing made it even more problematic. God's got us, that sign says, and I like that. When I walked in, I often say that to myself, I've got you, but it's the Divine Mother that I hear whispering that in my ear. I've got you. And it's the same. I mean, it doesn't matter. The G word has lots of translations. So maybe God talk makes you nervous. You equate the word with the suffocating little boxes of your childhood, being forced to go to Sunday school where you learn that God is old, white, male, and constantly pissed off. He floods the whole world when a few of his kids misbehave, smites cities and drowns armies, issues his orders on tablets of stone, making a big deal about the obvious. Of course you shouldn't kill people, unless of course you're God. Or steal your neighbor's horse or be rude to your mom and dad. It embarrasses you to even be included in the same breath as those nutty fundamentalists who take every word of the Bible literally and condemn queer people to hell. A true believer you are not. And yet, there is a stirring in your soul, not because of, but rather in spite of religiosity. You sense the presence of something vast and loving when you reach the summit of a mountain, or stand up on your surfboard, or cup your hand to drink water from a stream. You recoil from the notion that a supreme being is keeping track of your lustful thoughts and yet cannot be bothered to prevent genocide or reverse climate change. If that's what God is, you want no part of it. More atrocities have been committed in the name of God than you can bear to ponder. You have no use for a magical puppet master with a grudge. Guess what? The God you don't believe in is the God I don't believe in. My God is sometimes goddess. She is often subversive, knocking over the furniture in the parlors of the privileged. My God rarely conforms to a fixed gender, embodying all the most life-giving qualities of the feminine, such as tenderness and mystery, and modeling the finest attributes of the masculine, such as discipline and confidence. My God both transcends anything I could conceive of and lives inside of everything I know and do and am. Even religion, because sometimes we can feel it when those folks were singing in 4-part harmony and that Irish lilt was in the air. My heart just opened and melted and reconnected me with what matters, which is each other. As a Jewish person who grew up in a completely secular family, I didn't learn anything about Judaism from my family, only from Reb Zalman at Hippie Lama Foundation Shabbat. That's where I learned all my Judaism. But in the Jews now, in the last quarter of a century, I've reconnected with my ancestral roots, and when we have the High Holy Day services, it's like this ancient energy of connectedness washes over me, and I feel a holiness that is beyond all language. I'm trying to remind my Jewish community right now what our essential values of social justice and loving kindness and caring for each other are. And many Jewish people are remembering that now more than ever, but some, alas, are not. So, I guess I want to end with a little reading. Let's see if there's anything else I want to say before I guess what I want to say is, if you were to take something away with you today, I would want it to be something along the lines of reclaiming today, tomorrow, throughout the week, ordinary moments of your life as sacred ground. So whether it's taking a walk and not catching up on your phone conversations, or checking your email, or even catching up on your thinking, that internal to-do list that's written in fluorescent ink, but to really be present with your footsteps and your breath and the sounds around you. If you're washing dishes, if you are, as I have been lately, changing diapers because we have a new grandchild, if you are whatever your most tedious chores and obligations, see if you can drop in, gaze through the eyes of love, and remember the holiness of those ordinary chores and tasks. Whether it's celebrating a birth, or mourning a death, or feeling the changing of the seasons in your own body as it turns from winter to spring here in this hemisphere, to just breathe into the holiness of the moment. It's not that I feel like the religious structures and institutions are going to die, but they are going to have to, I'm not the only one who says this has been said for centuries, but are going to have to radically change. And we the people have to reclaim what is holy, what is sacred, and live it. And so as we deconstruct so much of the religious paradigms that have caused such suffering in this world, I feel like it is vital to safeguard the jewels of the world's spiritual traditions, which are mostly the mystical teachings, to rescue them, to lift them, to keep them safe, even as we let go of everything that no longer serves us in claiming the holiness of this world and our interconnectedness, what Thich Nhat Hanh called the web of interbeing, to which we all belong. Because the religions have taught us that even with churches and temples and communities, that we don't belong, that there's something fundamentally flawed about us. You are a mystic. You are a lover and beloved of the Holy One. So, Reign of Yes. All my life I've been enamored of the God-intoxicated ones, those rarefied souls who slip into ecstatic states and spontaneously utter poetry, the ones who exude deep stillness, embody equanimity, listen more than they speak, the initiated and the ordained, the monastics. You could recognize them by their white robes or their headscarves, the prayer beads wound around their wrists, and the scriptures from which they quote. If a talk show host wanted to interview a mystic, these are the exemplars they would invite into the studio. I wanted to be one of them. until I didn't. I want you to not want that either. I want you to want exactly what you have, a real life, with its clogged plumbing and flight delays, its cold beers and hot dates, its free-floating anxieties and spontaneous foot rubs. Girls' night out, Monday night football, the death of your favorite uncle and the birth of your first grandchild. Comings out and turnings in, your crises of faith. I want you to want to be exactly who you are, a true human person doing their best to show up for this fleeting life with a measure of grace, with kindness and a sense of humor, with curiosity and a willingness to not have all the answers, with reverence for life. You do not need to chant all night in a temple in the Himalayas. You don't have to be the newest incarnation of Mary Magdalene. It is not necessary to read or write spiritual books. You are not required to know the difference between Mahayana and Theravada Buddhism or to memorize the Beatitudes. All you have to do to walk the path of the ordinary mystic is to cultivate a gaze of wonder and step onto the road. Keep walking. Rest up and walk again. Fall down, get up, walk on. Pay attention to the landscape, to the ways it changes and the ways it stays the same. Be alert to surprises and turn with the turning of the seasons. Honor your body, train your mind, and keep your heart open against all odds. Say yes to what is, even when it is uncomfortable or embarrassing or heartbreaking. Hurl your handful of yes into the treetops, and then lift your face as the rain of yes drops its grace all over you, all around you, and settles deep inside you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirabai.